Afternoon all. Right, I did make a video which is just going up. I think it's going up Saturday today. It's today, Saturday, sorry. And I've been watching a little bit of allotmenty type of programs just to see if there's any ideas or just to catch up on seeding and planting. I used to have an allotment some years ago. I can't remember when it was. I think it was about 1999, something like that, just under the year 2000-ish or around that year, and I had it for about 10 years, and I let it go after that time. Now I did actually turn that allotment into 10 beds, and so I raised them slightly and dug out the paths. So, but you see, I was working at a plastic extrusion place, and they had some very deep plastic sills, and they were all scrap, and they scrap and recycle, but not all of it gets recycled. And I was having some of those, bringing them home, 20 foot long on my roof rack, and using them in the allotments, so it didn't cost me anything. And basically, it just give you those 10 beds. Now, I understand now that a lot of people are going on to raised beds, etc., and spending a lot of money, and I'm still trying to get my head around how you're spending so many hundreds of pounds to grow, excuse the expression, a few bits of veg in an allotment. Because I always thought the idea was for the allotment to grow stuff and not and to be a bit more frugal, unless I'm mistaken, I don't know. And then I've looked at one or two others, and since I haven't had my allotment, excuse me fidgeting, since I haven't had an allotment for some years, and I've got rid of all my tackle, my books and everything else. I haven't got rid of my tackle, I've still got my tackle. Anyway, that's a joke. It basically, like, and I'm looking at all this no dig business, and where you're, and I still can't get my head around that, is that, I can understand no dig, but you're bringing in, there's so many variations, or there's quite a few variations. Now, I understand that, you can have a no dig where you put a load of cardboard down, and then you put a load of compost or manure or whatever you want to call it over the top, and evidently you can either raise the beds or you can just do them on an open area, which is fine. But I understand that, and that's supposed to suppress the weeds, etc. But then my head's going around like, well, you're not using the soil because you're using compost. So basically you could do that on a concrete slab, couldn't you? Unless I'm just misunderstanding it, but hey ho, I don't know. I know you can't use it on a concrete slab, but you get my drift. So I can understand that, and the cardboard eventually breaks down and the soil underneath, the weeds are all destroyed, well, pretty much. So I can understand that into a certain degree, and then you're having to keep bringing in compost every year, just because everything sinks down, and you bring some more in, but nobody digs it. And then on about the soil structure, then I messaged this one person yesterday. I shan't mention his channel. Well, I will, but I won't. Anyway, young chap, and he's just doing another allotment. Now, please, I'm not moaning at him, by any stretch of the imagination. But I still can't get my head around that he's got an allotment that is 100 miles away, and he drives to that, and I'm just thinking, that's never, okay, whatever. Perhaps he just wants to keep it because he's moved, and now he's got another allotment, and now he's doing this other allotment, and what he's doing now is putting a membrane down, and I queried, and I said, well, forgive me for saying, I was quite polite, and I said, why are you putting this membrane down over your allotment? And then you put in raised beds in. I says, don't you lose then a lot of the ground? Because my whole idea was that you use as much of the ground as you can. With my raised beds at my old allotment, my path was so wide, enough to wheel a wheelbarrow around, and don't forget my beds were only 8-9 inches high, so the wheelbarrow would move around quite comfortably, where some are getting raised beds of a foot or 2 foot or more. So I queried that, and I says, well, why are you putting this, once again, an expense, membrane down, and all through the allotments, not just picking one side or the path or whatever. Then he's putting a path down the centre, which is fine, no problem. And this is not just one person, this is a lot of people I've seen doing this. But the last time I seen one of his allotments, there was this great big massive allotment, and literally, and I'm telling you now, there was like a raised bed of about 6 to 8 square feet, and there's 3 or 4 of them, and then yards of yards of stone where there was nothing growing, and I couldn't work that out. There's another chap who as well, who's on here, who's done a lot of raised beds, and you know, I watched some of his, and I won't mention his channel, you know, because he don't mention mine. So there you go. And so it goes back. It's a cup of tea, sorry. It goes back to like, well, why are they doing this? And I still can't get my head around. And then his answer was, when I messaged him, the first answer was Colin Tompkins, like, you know, Colin Tonkasdad, laugh out loud. And I thought, oh, it wasn't meant to be funny, but okay. Then another message followed, and saying basically the soil structure, you know, if you don't dig, etc., you say the soil structure. And I'm thinking like, okay, so we've been doing it for millennium now, like digging, turning the soil. I can understand that you have I call it topsoil and subsoil. And so you have a topsoil which is pretty much workable and manageable. If you dig too far down, you get subsoil, which is not manageable. It's got nothing in there, no nutrients, no nothing. But you see, most gardens have a topsoil, and of course you just dig and recycle that, and you just keep moving it around. So it's like this amount. Well, it could be this amount or this amount. It all depends. Topsoil can be like this depth or that depth. So I still can't get my head around it. So my explanation to that is, like, you know, by all means, there's another couple of small channels I've just take a snip at, and they're doing, you know, various bits and pieces, and I'm not commenting on every channel. I'm not mentioning the channel's names, because as I said, well, I'm not trying to promote them or whatever, but I'm interested, and I'm trying to be, you know, open-minded. I'm sorry this is going on too long, but if one or two people aren't interested, it's like everything else. If you pick up on it and then you think, oh right, yeah, why they do that, then you question yourself, why do they do that? But then when you can't get a genuine answer, and then the people are bringing in a load of mulching, which is usually chip-ins, you know, and so then you smother your garden with chip-ins, and you bury them to 12 inches deep, and you plant stuff in that, and that's supposed to smother, you know, weeds. But I can understand some of the principles on that, and then you just keep bringing this, you know, chip-ins in, you know, by the ton load. Or if you bring in manure, somebody was doing some manure, and they were bringing ton bags, and they were bringing 10 or 20 ton bags of composting stuff. That ain't going to be cheap. And I'm thinking, like, am I missing the point? Am I missing the point with digging a garden and turning it into an allotment? Because, you know, stoically in the Second World War, everyone was, you know, turn your back garden into an allotment and grow stuff, and we did. But we didn't put raised beds in, we didn't put hundreds of paths in. I put a couple of planks down where I've dug, and I stand on the planks just so I don't compress the soil too much. Eventually it will settle, and I will walk on that in the summer period, because I can't keep moving planks about. But until I get things planted, I use a couple of planks. Sorry, I'm just demonstrating, everybody can see that. So this is just a little bit of not a rant, it was just a little bit trying to understand the system. Have I been that backwards in the last 10 years or more since I've had 10 years I've not had an allotment? You know, about this no dig, raised beds, you name it, and a lot of people looking at this, are they going to be thinking like, well, I can't afford that, I can't afford to buy X amount of ton of compost. I know some of the chip-ins you can get fairly cheap, zero price or next to nothing, because, you know, most tree fellas, that means more than two, will ship your stuff in, and just for the cost of the diesel or whatever, because they can't get rid of it. It's hazardous waste, so they have to pay to tip it. So I don't know, it's an open-minded. If there's anybody who do watch this channel on allotments and digging, I mean, I've seen some famous channels on here who have got tens of thousands of subs, the no digging business and everything else, and I do try to look at that, and I do try to watch that, and I try to learn from that, but I can't learn nothing from that, because that's something I can't do. It's not something I can't do, sorry, it's something I feel as though that I don't want to do. I'm quite happy just digging. When my body becomes unable to dig, fair enough, you know, it's just an open question. It's just, you can see I'm troubled by this. You can see how it is when you get locked up in a home and you can't go out anywhere. Anyway, that's it. I'll call it a day from there. There's no editing, so I'm going to lean over and turn the camera off. I'm going to watch this back again later, So it's just dead weird. It's just, you know, it just seems as though, like, you know, I want to just try and use as much ground as I can, and everywhere I'm seem to be looking, everyone's like, and everyone's got like shed. They ain't got a shed. They've got like a mansion in the bottom of the green, in the bottom of the allotment. You know, massive great shed. They've got cookers and God knows what else. And then they put massive great big polytunnels up, or whatever. And I'm just thinking, like, yeah, some of these polytunnels are 5, 6, 7, 800 pound a piece. Some of the timber some of these people are buying is hundreds of pounds. Oh, and one thing is, I did ask another chap, I said, how come you're using the pallet collars? He says, they're expensive, B&Q sell them. I think they're about £25 a piece. You know, they're only about 8 inches deep. But of course, not realising he must work somewhere or know somebody, is where they're coming in with pallet collars on, and they're scrapped. So, which is a lot ridiculous. So I can understand why he's using pallet collars, because if I had some, I would probably use some and make a couple of raised beds, sieve soil so I can grow so I can grow carrots and parsnips, which are the deep rooted stuff. And I can understand that if I get something for nothing. But to go and buy 4 pallet collars from B&Q at £100, you got no chance. Do you know what I mean? No chance at all. I may have sawdust in my ears because I've just been sawing, and it's Saturday and the weather's just gone a little bit inclement. You know, a bit overcast, etc. Anyway, I'll drink my tea and I'll go and carry on doing something else. I'm sorry if this has gone a bit too long, but I'm open to, you know, any questions if anybody's got, or any answers if anybody's got. If I know that not a lot of people watch my channel on allotments, but I can't go out anywhere. I can't go out anymore. You know, there you go. We're stuck, we're locked down. Anyway, love you all, and you. But I think you know who you are by now, don't you? You do. Cheers.